Thank you very much. We've kicked off a little bit late, so I've got a bit to get through, and what I propose to do is just speak for a little while to cover the nuts and bolts of what I wanted to say today, and then hopefully leave at least a little bit of time for questions. If people have further questions, in the atrium down where all the food is, there is a stand with law staff there as well. So at any time during the afternoon, people can pop by down there if they have any further questions as well. And as I said, I'll be doing a repeat of this presentation at 2 o'clock as well. Well, my talk is headed Why Study Law at Macquarie. I think the first question is to ask is, well, why study law, whether it's here or anywhere else? That was a question that I faced many, many years ago. And I wasn't altogether quite sure why I studied law. It just seemed to be something that I might be interested in. And in a sense, that was a wise choice. Of course, there are all sorts of careers in law, and the obvious career for most people is to go in and become private practitioners, solicitors and barristers, and most people would associate lawyers with those sorts of careers, and that was certainly the case in my day. When I was a student. However, law is not just about getting a qualification to become a solicitor or a barrister. At the end of the day, about half of the law graduates who finish end up practicing or end up in careers outside of the traditional private practice of soliciting and barristering. Many will go into the public service. Many will go into the, well, not quite as many, but lawyers are actually well represented, if you like, in the diplomatic service. Many will become lawyers, in-house lawyers, as we say, working within banks, mining companies, other organisations as a resident in-house, as we say, lawyer. Many will go into community legal centres and social work areas. Many will go into public interest advocacy. There are a number of public interest advocacy centres around dealing with environment, animals, and so on. So many people go into that sort of work with a law degree. Many will go into hospitals and health service facilities, trade unions. Many will become journalists. And some, like myself, will go into education, be it teaching in high schools or at universities. So what you can see is a tremendous diversity in terms of the career options. So it's always a good thing, actually, to do law. So if you're not sure as to what you want to do law. Now, why would you want to do it at Macquarie? Well, I think there are all sorts of good reasons why you want to come to Macquarie. But let me preface what I do say by saying that whatever your choice is, make it an informed choice. Go out to open days, go out to law evenings and presentations from all the law schools. There's half a dozen of them in the sort of Sydney metropolitan area. And whilst there is much that is common to all law schools in terms of curricula, I mean, we are a professional degree in a sense, and the legal profession requires certain content to be covered. So there's a certain commonality in terms of what law schools will offer. But that doesn't mean that all law schools are identical. They are different, and each has its own distinguishing features, I believe. And I think, you should find the one that suits you. Temperamentally, geographically, whatever the criterion is, find one that suits you and that suits you the best. I'm hopeful and confident that many of you will find Macquarie Law School the place to come to for a whole sort of variety of reasons. And it's about that I'd like to just talk about Macquarie Law School and what it has to offer. I think perhaps the most significant part of our law program is that we offer our programs in what we call an interdisciplinary manner. We're not confining in our law program a study of the rules of law. That's doctrine, if you like. Doctrine is important, and obviously it has to be covered. But doctrine studied alone is just simply, in our opinion, inadequate. There is an approach that just teaches the legal doctrine, and that's called black letter law. Knowledge of the law is important, but that's not enough in our view. We take an interdisciplinary approach, and we like to look at that law in context and filter that law, if you like, or present that law through various perspectives. Those perspectives may be historical, they may be philosophical, they may be political, they may be economic, they may be sociological, they may be psychological. You can't study law in a vacuum. And that's what we, in essence, talk about when we talk about an interdisciplinary approach. And Macquarie, in that sense, led the way, in fact, in this sort of approach to law. Prior to Macquarie, law, as it was taught, and in those days that meant either the University of Sydney or New South Wales, was pretty much taught in a black letter way. It certainly was taught that way when I was a law student, oh so long ago, as a student at the University of Sydney. That was the only law school that existed at the time. And we had a very black letter law approach to law. And quite frankly, when I went into the legal practice at the end of my studies, I really wasn't very well equipped at all to go into legal practice. And that partly stemmed from the type of law that Sydney taught in those days. I'm not saying they do that now, they're a much better law school than they used to be in that sense. But that's a very important approach, and that's, if you like, the hallmark of our degree, I think, in terms of its approach. What else can I say about Macquarie in terms of its approach? Well, one of the things I think that is useful to work out is who's going to teach you your law subjects when you get to law school. You will find that it's the staff that are listed on the web pages or on our notice boards from professors down that will teach. That is not the case in every law school. There's some absolutely wonderful academics at other law schools in this city, but you will never see them because they're there as, you know, fractional appointments, teach master's programs, and do not teach undergraduate students. It's a hallmark of our program that all our staff are involved in teaching at undergraduate level. So you will be exposed to the very best that we have, unlike in other places, I would suggest. Well, what do we offer in terms of law? I think it's important to appreciate the variety of programs that we have. Perhaps our biggest cohort of students are those, and I suspect probably that's most of you here, are coming into law school from high school. Now, to get into a law program there, that basically means you need to do a combined law degree program. That is doing some other degree in conjunction with law. And we have our law brochure, which you can pick up at various places around, which will list, there's about a dozen combinations, and it covers virtually every field, from the sciences to the arts to the social sciences and the humanities. So your non-law interest is bound to be catered for. And I would recommend, people ask me, well, you know, should I do a commerce degree? Will that be better for me if I become a lawyer? Should I do commerce? Maybe that's more related to business and so on. And my answer to that is no. Do what interests you. If that's humanities, let it be humanities. If it's computing, if it's economics, do what you are interested in. Because all of that knowledge, whatever that knowledge may be, is going to be of use and help for you. So do what interests you, because you're going to do it better for a start. And I don't think that there is any particular advantage one way or another that you may have done, you know, humanities as opposed to sciences or whatever as your accompanying degree. Now, as I said, these combined degree programs, you do need to apply through UAC for them. By and large, the cut-off in terms of the ATAR score is between 95 and 96. That's been the standard cut-off for students enrolling in those programs for many years at Macquarie Uni. Other means of, or programs that students can get into, and these perhaps may not apply to many of you here today, is firstly the what we call the graduate LLB. If you have completed a degree, you can then apply to do a full-time, if you like, straight law degree. The combined law degree programs, as I've said, take 5 years, assuming you go through at normal pace. A person doing the graduate LLB will have completed an undergraduate degree, in most cases 3 years, and then will do 3 years full-time study in law. So you'll end up with a law degree after, if you like, 6 years. And indeed, many students choose that option. Sometimes it's because they haven't got the marks to get into a combined degree in the first place, so they do another degree and then proceed through the graduate entry mode. Many of the graduate entry students are students who have decided at later stage, at the age of 18, 19, 20, they're not sure what they want to do, so they do another degree and then they find out at some point in time that they want to do law and they do a graduate program. That graduate program, again, it's application through UAC. We also have a distance program which is offered to on a part-time basis. It's done externally, as it were. It takes 6 years, as it would. That's primarily a mature age entry program. I mean, there are people that do it this way who've got degrees or whatever, but the major criteria for entry into that program is mature age, and I find it rather almost humorous that mature age these days is 21. I would have thought that's a bit too young to be called mature sometimes. But in any event, that's the age, and if you're over 21, you can then seek to apply to do a part-time external degree. Now, they're the programs that we have. It needs to be noted, however, that what we're doing now, and it started this year, is that we will take what we call mid-year entry. I mean, most students will apply at roughly about now, be putting in their applications through UAC for a start at the beginning of next year. However, you can also apply in the earlier part of next year for a start in the middle of next year. And again, that's done through UAC, and all our programs have mid-year entry, from combined degrees to the graduate degree and also the part-time LLB degree. So that is an option for some people, and you should be aware of it. Other people ask me, and this is a fairly common question I get asked at these sort of events, is whether or not there are bonus points on offer with respect to law. In some sense there are, but in other senses they're not. We do not have any bonus points attached to particular units, as occurs in some areas. For example, it may be if you're wanting to do physics, if you've got a very high mark in physics, you'll get bonus points. If you've got, that is, a high mark in your HSC, you'll get bonus points. We don't have that with respect to any of our law programs. However, there are sort of general bonus point schemes that are relevant and are available to all students applying through Macquarie, and that obviously includes law students. These are the rural bonus scheme that relates to students who are from rural or country areas. There is, if you're an elite athlete or performer, there's application for bonus points in relation to those attributes, and there is what we call the Lighthouse scheme, which enables students to, what we can loosely call, have been in some way disadvantaged in their progress towards applying for university, can apply for bonus points, and there are various criteria. If you want to find out about those schemes, the easiest way to do it is just go onto the Macquarie University webpage, and in the search little column there, just type in bonus points and it'll take you pretty much straight to the web page that has all the details about those sorts of schemes. Another common question that is asked is, well, what if I don't get into law one way or another this year? Is there some way that I can get into law at a later stage? And the answer to that is, yes, there is. There are various ways in which that can be done. The first is that you can just simply reapply to UAC the following year. And that would be, if you're doing another degree, you might have enrolled in an arts degree, you may then seek to apply in second year through UAC to get into a combined law degree program. And that's certainly an option that's available, and many students take that option, particularly students who may not have got here and have gone to another university and sometimes seek to transfer to Macquarie. The other option is what we call the internal transfer system. We have a program at Macquarie that If you do not get into law, you can, at the end of first year or any time before you finish second year, I guess that's 2:30, is it, or 1:30? You can apply to transfer internally into a law program. For example, you may have got into an arts degree or a commerce degree, but you want to do law. At the end of first year or any time before second year is over, you can apply to transfer into a combined law program. The essential criteria for qualification is that you must have a grade point average of 3 in your arts or commerce or whatever degree it is. Okay, and we take up to 50 students a year under that transfer program. Okay, I can see a lot of people need to go and my time is going to be running out. I think the only thing I can do really is if people want to ask questions, they can come to the 2 o'clock session that I've got in W5A Theatre 2 or go down to the atrium and speak to the staff there. Thank you very much.